Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, channel leaders, welcome to an episode of Tatami Talk. My name is Juan, Dimitri partner Anthony. This is a Judo podcast for Judo players by two Judo players. So Anthony, as we can all see, you're in a non-disclosed, secure location. It looks like a hotel room. Is it in Texas?
Yeah, it's in Texas. It's not a virtual background. And I also brought my webcam, what do you call it? My pocket camera. I thought I was going to like vlog the whole thing, but I've been just so exhausted and tired that.
Well, let's let everybody know. So you're in Texas right now because we have 4 competitors from Hollywood competing at the Texas Open / President's Cup.
Dallas Open.
I mean, Dallas Open, not Texas, so Dallas Open. So how's that going for you?
It's good. I think we should save the details for the next episode.
Ooh.
Yeah, we're trying to rush through this recording because we did an interview, which we talked about last week, that you were not present for because of work.
Yeah.
And I interviewed, and really shortly after, I had to fly here for the President's Cup, and then I'm flying back tomorrow. Our first athlete's going to fight in like an hour and a half, so I need to record this within an hour.
Wrap it up, Anthony, then get it out.
I'm stumbling because I'm like rushing, right? So we're going to record for an hour, and then tomorrow after the tournament, I'm flying out, and then the day after, I'm going to fly out to DC for them. If this episode is delayed, it's because of that, because it's really tight timeline. It means I have like, I'm going to fly back and I have like 6 hours to edit and upload this. And I still didn't edit the interview yet. Yeah, so maybe it'll be delayed for the first time in a while. But it's been really hard for us lately to get together and record, which is why you see us at the dojo. But yeah, the tournament's great. I used to compete in this tournament when I still live in Texas, and it's gotten so huge. It's really well run for the most part. Next time, I was just telling other people I'm not staying in this hotel. I'm going to stay at the Westin because it's not that much more, and it's nicer, and it's right across from the venue. This is like a 10-minute walk.
Okay, are you going to badmouth the hotel you're staying at right now? You're going to let us know which one you're at?
It's the Marriott, the official.
Oh,
it's not that bad. It's just the Westin is nicer if we're not that much more, and it's closer. It's literally right across from the venue. The thing about Westin, though, I think valet parking is like mandatory. I think so that might be additional hidden cost. I need to double check. But the problem with the official Marriott hotel is the elevators. Like it's jam packed with USA Judo people, so we had to wait so long to get the elevator down. So whenever I'm like, all right, I'll meet you guys in like 10 minutes, it's actually like 15 minutes because I wait longer for the elevator.
Why don't you just take the stairs?
I'm on the 10th floor, man.
It's walking down 10 flights.
I don't know if it's one of those stairs that will set off the alarm, but I'll check. I don't mind taking the stairs, actually.
Okay.
Yes. A lot of people came up to me.
Oh, okay.
This last couple of days. Thanks for listening to podcasts. I really appreciate the feedback you guys gave me. I got a lot of positive feedback on the Tanya Toshi video, and I think we might actually make another episode about it or at least a subsection discussion about it, because there's been a lot of discussion about it, but I think there's some stuff that needs to be clarified. Because if everyone is saying that, you're just teaching it incorrectly, and everyone's knees are still getting hurt, then it just means it's something's wrong there. So anyway, thanks for coming up to say hi to me. I'm sorry if I, for some people, I just gave them a blank stare because I was sleep deprived. It was the first night when I arrived at the hotel, and I'm like, okay, we gotta go to weigh-in, and I've been up since like 12 a.m. We gotta go to weigh-ins, and then gotta go to the coach meeting, and I'm like sleep deprived at that point. And some people came up to me and I was like, hi. I'm like, in my head, I was like, I know this guy, but I can't remember his name. I'm just like, I just gave him a blank stare, and yeah. So if I seemed a little off, it's because of that. Yeah. But I also need a haircut because I don't have time. So I was surprised. Fine. I was surprised people recognize me because my hair is so long.
Well, thank you for love. Thank you for coming up to Anthony. He loves it when you come up to him, and he also loves it when you come and give him a big hug too. So whenever you see him, come give him a big hug. All right.
Maybe not right now because of the shingles, but yeah.
All right. So now we're ready for some judo news.
Yep.
We had a lot of news happen this past 2 weeks. I thought it'd be a little slow. I was going to pad it out with just some UFC stuff, but let's start off with the UFC. So UFC 322 happened back on the 15th. As we all know, Islam Makhachev went up from 55 pounds up to 170 to challenge for the title. He won dominantly, 5-round decision using his judo, grappling and stuff. Everyone's like, oh, he just used wrestling. But in interviews again, he's always like, this is my judo. My judo teaches my control and stuff he was saying. He even threw his manager after the match. So it's like, that's a good thing for judo. Again, underneath that was Valentina. I can't say her name correctly, her last name, but
Shashankov.
Yeah, Valentina fought also with Weili Zhang coming up from her weight class to challenge her for her title, and Valentina just threw her around, took her down, and just controlled her. I felt bad for her because she looked like Weili looked small for that weight class. And again, judo dominance, taking him down, using their control, hold them, and just beat them with decisions. So good for judo. That's two more titles, not two more titles, but two retaining titles for judo right there, you know? And people were saying, well, the only judo player in the UFC is Kayla. The only judo player, like, no. We literally have 1, 2, 3, 4 judo players right now as champions of the UFC, whether you like it or not. Whether you're going to say they're wrestlers or grapplers or what do you want to call them, they're judo guys and gals, all right? Did you get to watch any of the fights, Anthony?
No, I was so busy.
No, you wouldn't like them anyway because they were just I'm gonna admit it. There are a lot of control fests, you know.
That's what I like.
And pray. I
like watching technical stuff, which is considered boring. It's just like judo, right? I like watching all the grip fighting and all the stuff that leads up to the throw. I don't care that much about the throw itself after a certain point. So, like, especially when two people are so tired, like the highlights, you're just seeing like the very end of it. It could have been at the end of like a 5-minute golden score or something like that. But it's everything that led up to that point that's interesting to me.
So that's what happened with MMA right now. So let's get to some sad news now. Now, I had some people message me, but like, because I posted on our own Instagram and stuff, like, didn't he retire already? I thought he retired last year. So Hashimoto officially announced retirement this past week. All right. And it's funny because he's getting more popular right now because he's on that Physical Asia show now. He's got like
that's
more
actually why he's going on there, because he's retiring. So.
Yeah, so he's officially fully retiring. The thing about Hashimoto is that I always liked Hashimoto. I always felt bad for Hashimoto because I always thought he was a really good judo player. I liked his style and stuff, but he was always the B guy because the A guy was Ono. Yeah. And what you gonna do? It's freaking Ono.
Well, I mean, Hashimoto has the world championship title.
Yeah, so Hashimoto, let me see, look it up real quick. He got 1 world championships. He got bronze at the Olympics and silver for the team competition. So he got 2 medals at the Olympics. He's a world champion and stuff, but he's always, I feel for some people, and this is what thing that pissed me off because I liked him and stuff. Even when he became the A player, when Ono retired, people are like, oh, well, he's just a counter player now. He doesn't fight as hard. It's like, no, he fights really well. It's just, he's at the tail end of his career now. And it sucks when you're just like, I keep saying this, but when you're the number 2 guy, you know?
Well, he's older. So
that's what I'm saying. You know, you're at the tail end of your career, getting older and stuff. He was still a world champion. He still got bronze in the Olympics. All right. Got silver in the team competition. I thought he was a really good player. I enjoyed watching him play. I just mad that there's a narrative coming his last after the Olympics that he was just a counter fighter now, and all he did was just counter people or wait to attack second. You know,
the only narrative I had of him personally was his one-handed sode stopped working, and he was getting more Hansokamake than he should, and then he swapped to Taitoshi, which he had some highlight reels on that, but it just doesn't. I think in the current meta, just not this work as effective. You know, so.
So I think that he was a great player. I really enjoyed watching his stuff. You should check his stuff out. Like I said, I think more people are going to be more popular. He's been more popular with people now because he did the Physical Asia show, which is also another very interesting concept because I want to talk about that a little bit also, is that, so everyone knows Physical 100, okay? They've had 2 seasons. The first season, they had Sexyama on it. The second season, they had Stun Gun on there, Dong Hyun Kim. So they had some judo players on there. Now, this season they're doing is countries versus countries and stuff. And the Japanese team already has 3 really good judo players. So they had, so the Japanese team has Hashimoto. They had Yushin Okami, which a lot of people think that he's just a grappler wrestler, but his basis was judo. And that's how he got a lot of people with a lot of judo throws and sweeps and trips when he was in MMA. The other person that's on the team is Kana Watanabe, she was on the national team. People just think that she's an MMA person because she fought in Ryzen, Bellator, and now she's in PFL. And even in the show, they talk about just her being an MMA fighter, but she was on the national team. Like that's how high of a level that she was. So on the Japanese team, you have 3 really good judo players, which is I think for a lot of these physical challenges are the best thing, you know. And then on the Korean team, you have Stun Gun on there, Dong Hyun Kim, really good judo player as well. They have I'm gonna get into, so those are judo players right there. And the Mongolian team also has a Mongolian judo player on. I cannot say her name because it's one of those crazy Mongolian names, but I know I've seen her before. She's a really good judo player as well. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 judo players right there. Besides all the other grappling styles they have on there, like the Japanese team has one of the national wrestling team members on there. The Korean team has a national wrestling team on there. Was it the Australian team or was it the Pakistani team or something? No,
Mongolian team has some crazy people too.
Yeah, they have some good. So they have a lot of good grapplers on the show. So that's kind of maybe me more interested in this episode, in this season. And I'm going to try to get Anthony to watch some of this so that he gets his take on it of how the grapplers did and how the physical challenges were.
I might watch it. I mean, I'm not opposed to it. I just don't have time. So,
like I said,
maybe on the plane I will.
Yeah. Well, the one thing I do like about this show, at least, is that it's not like the Americans shows where they give you sob stories, backgrounds, why they're living in a car trying to, like, that was one of my biggest gripes when
that's
Ninja
reality
Warrior,
shows. That's why I don't watch it.
Yeah. Well, it's like one of my big gripes why when was it Ninja Warrior went from G4 to NBC proper. When it was on G4, it was just a Japanese version, you know. They went out there, did the challenges, you got a little bit of backstory about people and stuff, nothing too big. As soon as it went to NBC proper, oh my God, he lived in his car. He's a working stunt man. He has diabetes and can't do it. This huge long sob story. I was like, I don't give a shit about the sob story. I want to see them compete in this challenge. All right. And I also have other things about the American version of Ninja Warriors or Sasuke. I have some other complaints.
They do that for every, like the Great British Bake Off, all the cooking shows, all of them like have.
Yeah, it's like there's something I think that's why I like the way physical age is better. It's just like get to the physical challenge, get to the challenge, you know?
Yeah.
Even the Rocks thing, Titan Games, when it first started, it was a little bit more about just the physical challenges stuff. Then, like, I think the second season got into more background stories, sadness. I don't give a I'm sorry, all right? Give me the American Gladiator version. They just go out, do these crazy things, get their money, and go, all right? So those are just some of the judo news right now. Hashimoto retiring, I think, you saw it coming, you know. Like I said, I thought he did like a soft retirement last year already, but now he's officially retired. That leaves a spot open for somebody else now. Anthony, do you think anybody's coming up? Anybody you've been watching for that spot?
I mean, I think maybe not Sasaki. No, not for that weight class, really. It's all up in the air right now, and it's, for me, it's hard to, especially since I don't have enough time now. It's really hard to keep track of the up and coming Japanese athletes because of how they don't really send. I was just explaining this to some beginners the other day. They don't really send their up and coming athletes out domestically because they're talking about cadet and junior worlds. And I'm just like, just so you know, like the Japanese don't really think it's worth it to send them out. And domestically, you can't find like the high school university competitions uploaded that easily. You need to have like a Japanese TV subscription to see it live. And even if they have a recording of it, it's like only up for a certain amount of time before they take it down. So it's really been hard because I like to watch a lot of Japanese TV shows, and they do this for not even judo, just like TV shows in general. They make it really hard to find this stuff. So, and then Japanese copyright laws are very strict.
They're super strict.
It's super strict. So
as someone that loves watching Japanese pro wrestling, man, you got to get it like immediately. Like immediately. I'll be gone. Less than 24 hours to be gone. All right.
Yeah. So it's hard to keep track.
Yeah. Like I knew the Japanese probably knew this already. They probably knew he was retiring. Like I said, I thought he did a soft retirement last year already. So they have now, they have about 2 years to pick who they want to fill the spot for LA. And that's me interesting to see who comes up. All right, so let's get to the main part of the show then. Like I said, we're rapid fire guys. I'm sorry, we're going through this so fast for everyone. We had a listener message us, Cole Stanley. We had saying that he's a judo player. He's also an educator, and he wanted to talk to us about education in judo and how he brings them together and how he teaches and does this stuff. And I thought it was very interesting. Anthony thought it was interesting. But what happened is that because of my weird work schedule and his schedule, that he can only do the interviews during the weekday, which is when I work usually. So Anthony had to do an interview on his own.
It's kind of long. It's like 2 hours. I might have to.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
This is a marathon episode. Sorry, guys. This is if anyone complained about how the women's tournament was a short episode or a half episode, here's the rest of it, okay?
Yeah, you know how I get when it comes to pedagogy and all that kind of stuff. So we kind of got into a long discussion. So I'm going to try and cut out most of what I say, and because I always want to keep as much as what the guest says as much as possible, and what I say is kind of just my thoughts on it. So I'm going to try and cut out as much as I can without taking out the meats and potatoes. But yeah, definitely good listen. Check it out.
All right. So with no further ado, let's get to an interview.
Hey everybody, we have Cole Stanley here. Juan is busy, so he will not be joining us. So I'm going to do my best to do this interview. Cole, it's nice to finally meet you. I know we've had back and forth trying to get this scheduled. Can you please tell us about yourself? How you started judo, and what's your background?
No, this is an absolute honor. The same as what I did for you, I did for a couple different podcasts that both I like or listened to or sounded like that they were kind of on the same path as what I'm doing. So I reached out and, I've been the interviewer for my own podcast, and I've taken the approach of interviewing both higher name grapplers in wrestling, judo, jiu-jitsu, sambo, but I also interview just local people that I know, my professor in jiu-jitsu, some of my judo senseis. And I really think that overall, as far as from what I've done, I've gotten a little bit more reception from just the local guys, So I really think that this is an awesome opportunity. I'm all about spreading the word of grappling in general, specifically judo, but also grappling in general, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, sambo, whatever it might be. But my name is Cole Stanley. This is year 25 for me in grappling. I started in judo in the year 2000. And I've told this before, but it was kind of an interesting start to the sport because when I was young, I used to watch professional wrestling a lot. And we had somebody move to our super small town in Illinois. And he was like, I used to wrestle in middle school. And I'm like, oh, okay, like, I didn't really understand what he meant. And then he would kind of show me some wrestling. I'm like, man, I really like this. It's hard and I don't know what I'm doing, but I really like it. And then skip forward a couple of years, the high school that I went to was super small and did not offer wrestling, but I'm like, I really want to try wrestling. I'm in high school. I've been working out. I always enjoyed it when I was young, just wrestling with my friends in the backyard. So I want to give this a shot, but they did not have wrestling. So I took the approach to talk to the principal and see if I could be part of a co-op or if I could go to another district to wrestle, but still go to school there. And that was a no, unfortunately. So when I talked with my friend, his name's Adam, about this, he's like, well, have you ever thought about doing judo before? And I mean, I can't remember the discussion exactly, but I probably didn't even know what judo was at the time. And he told me to try it out in Yorkville, Illinois. And his cousins, who were state champion wrestlers, trained there, and some other like high-ranking people. And so I gave it a shot. And as far as I remember, I think I liked it right away. And then, skip forward 25 years, and here we are today. I'm done with competition, and I've moved into the teaching realm. I teach for a jiu-jitsu academy outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. And I am just in the process of finishing up a metal building that I'm putting in my front yard, and I'm going to teach judo out of the metal building. So that's going to be student first martial arts and fitness out of Monroe, North Carolina. And, I'm going to call it judo, and it's going to be judo, but it's going to be kind of an approach of how judo once was, as far as incorporating leg attacks, spending a little bit more time on the ground doing submissions, and not being really confined by some of the modern competitive rules of judo. So I really want to teach judo as the art, as the physical education, like it was originally intended. And I really think that might be kind of the direction that grappling in general might be going, whether it's judo, jiu-jitsu, whatever. I think that I kind of see this trend to where people are grappling and they're calling it judo or jiu-jitsu or no-gi grappling or whatever, but it looks like wrestling one day, it looks like judo the next day, it looks like jiu-jitsu the day after. And I really like this blended approach. So that's what I'm going to be doing at my dojo, and it's kind of what I already do at the dojo that I teach for.
Okay. So what was the name of the club that you trained at?
The original club that I started out was Yorkville Judo Club in Yorkville, Illinois.
Is it still around?
No, it is not. So originally, Yorkville Judo Club is a very old club for the Chicagoland area. Mm-hmm. My sensei, Bob Corwin, either started the club in the 60s or the 70s, and I had started there in 2000. So the club was, 30 years old by the time I had already gotten there, and Bob was quite a bit older. I think he was in his 60s, maybe even early 70s when I started there. And once Bob passed, nobody really took over the Yorkville Judo name. Now, there was a couple of his black belts, Chuck Clark and Chris Makuta. They had started their own judo club while Yorkville Judo was still going on. But then Yorkville Judo Club dissolved, and over time, their club is called the Atlas Extreme Team. After an amount of time.
What a huge name change.
Yeah, right. Yeah. They started to get a little bit more into the jiu-jitsu realm. And now, as time has passed on over this, 20 years or however long that they've been open, they're pretty much predominantly just a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu academy. And Chris Makuta got his black belt under Roy Dean. So, and I was up there, when was that? Over this summer. And I went back to visit, and then they allowed me to come on the mats and teach, which was awesome. And I'm very thankful for those opportunities. He still does judo. He still shows throws and uses, the philosophy and background of judo to kind of run his jiu-jitsu academy. But, and again, this could be like a super deep discussion, but he said, he wants to do this full time, and it's pretty hard to run a judo dojo and make a living. And it's a little bit easier to make a living in the current situation of how things are with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So, he decided to go that route in order to grow his business a little bit. Yeah. And, in his words, a little easier.
Yeah. So, that's a good topic I want to dive into. Do you think that's true, what he said? since you're starting your own dojo now, and if you, because you already mentioned your approach is like traditional judo, and you're going to blend in other aspects of grappling, and you're just going to teach grappling. Do you think without that piece, like if you just opened up Cole Stanley Judo Club, then you don't? Do you think there's a market there, or would you have customers? Would there be a problem? Would it be sustainable?
I mean, I'm not really sure. I'm definitely trying it. I'm still working full time, and I'm still going to work for the gym that I teach for, because I started that program in March 2024, and now I've gotten to the point where I have a couple of yellow belts and some students that are very invested, and they have done the gym itself. 4M Fitness in Indian Trail, North Carolina, has been nothing but awesome to me, and has really given me the freedom to run the program how I want, and to really trust in me and let me, teach judo the way I think that it, should be taught, or some of the techniques and ideologies and movement patterns and stuff that I've picked over the years that I think are effective. So now, one thing that I think, and you may have heard about or listened to this when you told me that you listened to the episode with Shintaro. Mm-hmm. So the whole mentality of judo for the longest time has been, basically free education for people, right?
Yes.
Expand the word of judo, get as many people as you can into it, and offer it as cheap as possible. And while that strategy worked for a long time, I think the mindset of, the average American has changed. And you could go into a couple different routes for this. You could view it as people think that charging a low cost for membership means that it's not good value, right? Mm-hmm. That cheap does not mean value. Also, because a lot of these judo clubs are run as nonprofit, or they don't really make any money, and they charge $25 a month just to keep the lights on. They don't really spend any money on marketing. There's not a lot of media coverage. There's not a lot of people going to judo tournaments and interviewing people to the extent and the span of what jiu-jitsu does. So I think that judo absolutely could be marketable. I think that it could get popular. Mm-hmm. And if you compare it to worldwide, judo is quite a bit more popular than Brazilian jiu-jitsu in the world. But in the United States, it's not.
Yeah.
And will jiu-jitsu end up passing judo worldwide? I don't know. But I think that if we change the approach on how judo is marketed, if we start running the schools a little bit more like a business, and taking somebody, like myself, who's been doing it 25 years and has spent a ton of time into it, as well as I was a public educator for 16 years, and I coached wrestling for 16 years. I've heard people kind of compare that to having, like a PhD in grappling, and not that I think that, that I'm outstanding or anything at judo, but I've spent a lot of time learning it, and I've spent a lot of time on figuring out ways that I can teach it so that people will understand, and coming up with, mnemonic devices on how people can remember moves and breaking things down, and just, continuously studying how to become a better teacher, and also continuing to learn the sport of judo. So, I think that judo can get back to where it once was, because, if people know the history of judo, in the 1950s and 60s, judo was the most popular martial art in the United States. And once, you could attribute it to maybe Bruce Lee, even though Bruce Lee didn't do karate, he did a striking art, and, kind of that karate boom took off after, kind of Bruce Lee broke into Hollywood. And then you started to see these ninja movies. And again, that's not technically karate, but it's viewed as basically karate in a way, because it's a striking art with punching and kicking and a gi and a black belt and things like that. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to try my best to grow the sport, to grow the art of judo. And I think that that's awesome. And I really hope that we kind of do a circle and it comes back around to popularity and people wanting to get it, into the art of judo itself.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, these are talking points we've heard other podcasters, YouTuber influencers like Shintaro talk about, and Travis Stevens basically saying we need to run it like a business. And I totally agree with you, because right now at our dojo, Hollywood, I'm always like, how do we grow the kids class? Like, our kids program is really small right now. But like you said, it's not our full-time job. Like, how am I going to have time to market? How am I going to have time to spend? Like, I'm barely having time to run the podcast right now. So like, how am I going to market the dojo? And if it was a full-time job, then we would be able to do that, right? But I don't think it's like one or the other. I think we can do both. Like, dojos like Shintaro's and Colin Brown and them, they can market. And I think nonprofits serve like a different, like I can tell you right now, more than half the people at our dojo wouldn't be able to train if we charge the fees that jiu-jitsu charges. And so it would serve a different crowd. And where do you think the national governing bodies like USA Judo and USJA and them fall into this? Because I personally think the marketing should be up to them, and they should probably charge, because right now what USA Judo is like $100 a year or $150 maybe for the club registration fee. Maybe they would charge more and actually provide a service, because in recent online discussions, people were just complaining about USA Judo taking money but not really providing a service other than insurance, liability insurance, and rank verification, which they also charge for. So where do you think they fall into this? Do you believe that they should have a bigger hand in marketing for it? I know Shintaro was telling people to pay USA Judo, and I'm just like, why?
I have both an opinion about the matter, and I would say it more falls into the opinion because I don't have, direct correlation to USA Judo as far as, like the people behind the scenes and things like that, but just from what I've seen. So I think that one of the main issues with the way that USA Judo is promoting the sport is the competitive high level side. So while that's awesome to watch, and I love the highlight reels of people throwing with big uchimatas and big siyanagis and, throwing somebody and doing a front flip and cartwheeling out of attacks and things like that. But the majority of people that are in judo cannot do that stuff. And
I agree.
We have to start appealing to the everyday person. Martial arts in general, like if you compare it to wrestling, and I've made this analogy before. So wrestling is an organized school sport, right? So competition is basically like why you're doing it. Like if you're in high school wrestling, you're going to wrestle in tournaments and you're going to wrestle in dual meets. Like you just are. You can't just choose to not compete. So martial arts like judo or jiu-jitsu or any of the other martial arts, they kind of have a trump card in this to where you can practice the art and never compete. I mean, you don't really even have to do randori if you really don't want to. You can literally just do the drills and learn the throws, or if it's a different art, the submissions, the strikes, whatever it might be, and never do any live, And, when you take a lot of gyms, I hear different numbers, maybe 5%, 10%, maybe a high end would be 25% of the people in the dojo are actually competing. So you're talking 90% of the people in the dojo are not competing. That is where the heart of all dojos need to lie, is applying to these people that are just there to enjoy the art and to learn, and not really come in with a competitive mindset or even want to compete at all. And I think that the big organizations need to start appealing to the average day person instead, the everyday person, because that's where the majority of the people in judo are, And again, while it's cool to see these highlight reels, at times it pushes people away, because when I try to convince people to come do judo, even in the jiu-jitsu club that I work for, and individuals that I know, that I've trained with, that I've rolled with, that I've done jiu-jitsu with, I'm like, hey, why don't you come try judo? And more times than you would think, I get the response of, well, I don't want to get slammed in my head all the time. It's like, but that's not what judo is, man.
Yeah.
Like, and if you come and try my class, you'll see that it's not like that. But because of they see it on the highlight reels, and these, super athletes that are doing high level judo and, trying to get that ippon any way that they can.
And spinning out of throws and posting on their heads and stuff like that to get out of the throws. Yeah.
Right. It discourages some people, but you see all these videos that come out for something like a jiu-jitsu, and all the time they're promoting, this is for everyone. This is for everyone. This is how easy this move is. Well, we both know that sort of approach originated with judo. Judo originally was meant as a physical education system for everyone. Take out the lethal aspects of the Japanese jiu-jitsu and apply them in a safe environment that people can use. And that was kind of Kano's philosophy, that judo was for everyone. But we've gotten away from that aspect. And I think that that's one of the issues that a lot of the governing bodies, I think, should readdress personally.
Yeah. A lot of people like to quote Kano, but then they talk about self-defense first, right? Like, oh, Kano intended it to be for self-defense. I'm like, I'm not quite sure. I mean, like, yeah, that's a bonus, but I think the primary goal is for self-perfection and physical education, and that's what he was using it for.
Sure.
Okay, so let's move on a little bit. Otherwise, we'd be here complaining about your safety for a long
of course.
time. So you told me about your traveling martial arts business. Do you want to tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah. As of lately, I've kind of gotten, well, not away from that, but because I'm trying to get, my dojo going. But what I did is, for the most part, traveled around, mostly in North and South Carolina. There was some other states that I visited as well. And for the most part, I'm teaching judo for jiu-jitsu. But depends on where I go. Sometimes I go to judo clubs and teach. Sometimes I get invited to wrestling type events. Sometimes I do no-gi grappling. And when I do no-gi, it's a little bit more wrestling centric. But I go around and I, teach grappling. And ultimately, when I started, I kind of just watched people like a Justin Flores or Shintaro Higashi or Colton Brown and some others that were going around and offering these clinics, judo for jiu-jitsu or wrestling for jiu-jitsu, whatever it might be. And I thought, well, I wonder if anybody would want me to come out. I don't have, like big accolades or anything, but surprisingly, people were decently receptive to it. And for the last, I don't know, maybe like a year or so, maybe a little bit more than a year, I've been going around and teaching at different dojos, clubs, wrestling teams,
Is this mostly
like
within the North Carolina area, or is this like across
and
the
South
state, the
Carolina
country, and South? So it's like within that region.
for the most part.
Okay.
I've taught in Illinois. I'm
Mhm.
from Illinois, so I have some connections there. So a couple times when we've went back on family vacations, I've taught out there. And then I was just in Virginia a couple months ago and did a 2-day clinic on judo for jiu-jitsu up at a place called Renaissance in Lynchburg, Virginia.
Would you recommend people to do this? Like, is it lucrative? Is it like allowing you to at least like fix your roof or something like that? That kind of money, or is it like a cheeseburger, as Dave Roman would say? Like,
I mean, obviously, like, what is the whole reason of doing this? It's to spread judo, right? It's to spread grappling, to incorporate things in people's game and to get them better. But it all comes back to promoting judo, honestly, because I really have had a love for judo for so long, and I really think that it helps out with other martial arts. And I really like the philosophy and the whole purpose and meaning behind judo. I think that that it absolutely is the best. And again, like, I want to go out there and spread the art. So as far as like the monetary side of it, so I did at first several for free, and then I was only charging $40. I'd come and I'd teach a class for $40, and then
also, it's not even based off of attendance.
no, because what I did, and again, I like this approach, is instead of offering like a Saturday clinic to where you have to open the dojo on a special day and you charge people, and again, like, I'm a no-name guy for the most part. Like, people are not going to get drawn to the clinic just because of my name. So what I do is go to regularly scheduled classes, and I'm just the guest instructor for the night. So the people that are already going to be there on a Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, whatever it might be, are already going to be there. And then I go and I just teach for the night. And again, I start out either doing it for free. And if I do it at judo clubs, I do it for free because, again, majority of them are nonprofit and can't pay me anyways. And, but that's kind of me giving back to judo as well. But I started out charging $40. And what started happening was the instructors, and again, this is mostly at jiu-jitsu schools, right, that are charging $100, $150, $200 per student, and paying dudes to come in for jiu-jitsu clinics and paying them $1,000, $2,000. They're like, you should charge more than $40. I'm like, well, yeah, okay. So people would tell me that and then pay me a little bit more than what I originally asked for, which, again, like, I think that that's like a big compliment to me. I think it's, it's very humbling and honoring to me that they actually did that. And then I just slowly progressed to, $50, $60. And then now I do $75 for a class. Most of the time I teach a kids class, and I teach an adults class. So, for the most part, I've been keeping it within a range to where I can drive there. So, I'll go 2-3 hours away so I don't have to stay the night and stuff. But then there's been a couple times to where I've gone to some places like up in Virginia to where the club paid for my lodging and stuff, again, which, like, I feel very honored and privileged to be able to do that stuff. I feel very lucky that somebody that I've never met would do that for me.
Yeah.
But as far as, doing this, like, only doing that, as far as like the only revenue stream, it's going to be pretty dang difficult unless you have a name, right? Like, unless you have some pretty good accolades to where just people hearing that you are coming, like they're going to be driving from several hours away to come. But as far as, making a little bit of side money or learning how to teach or spreading your knowledge or connecting, I mean, there's so many reasons on why people should do this. Absolutely. Now, and again, when I'm doing this, I'm applying judo to the rules of jiu-jitsu specifically, right? Such as I talk about when I do a throw or a takedown, I want to have options from there. So if I do, we'll just say an ogoshi, I do an ogoshi. Instead of throwing and rolling through or throwing and going right to side control, I throw, hold the arm, just like we're taught in judo to do.
Yeah.
Then I talk about ways that I can transition to knee on belly, mount, side control, going for an arm bar, etc. Kind of set it up more to where it applies to the rules of jiu-jitsu specifically. And it's been awesome. And I think, I don't know how many schools I went to over the last year, maybe 25 or 30 maybe over the last year, so there was a time to where I really pushed the schedule and I was going somewhere every week or twice a week for about 3 months. And I've kind of tapered off, but I mean, like, it's not like my phone is ringing off the hook or anything. Like I have to approach schools, it's not like if all I did was like put up a website and said, hey, I'm a traveling judo instructor, nobody would call. You got to reach out to the schools and you have to take a chance. Cause I mean, what are they going to say? No. Okay. So you're where you originally began. Right. But some of them say yes. And that's where the doors start to open, and there's been a couple times to where I've gotten referrals, just a couple times, maybe 2 or 3 times where I've had referrals of people that suggested me to go to another school, or they're an affiliate and they're like, oh, I heard that you taught there a couple months ago. Would you consider coming to our place? And it's just been kind of going from there. But again, it's like, I suggest people go and, spread the word of judo or grappling in general. But as far as like making a living doing the travel, I don't think it's possible unless you're a really big name, like a Justin Flores, the Shintaro Agashi, people like that can charge thousands of dollars to come and teach, I can't do that. I mean, nobody's going to pay me $1,000. They just aren't, and I'm okay with that.
I was actually thinking of doing something similar in the past. Well, not right now, but
you should.
Right now I'm a little busy, but yeah, eventually maybe. I was actually thinking about that. But for me, I was thinking of charging way more than $40. But the money would go to charity because I personally, I'm heavily invested in the whole other side, which is judo should be for free as an option. That's my personal opinion. And if you have the ability to do so, that is. Obviously, if it's your full-time job, then yeah, you should charge for it. But I was thinking of running a charity kind of thing for it. And like I said, I know many people that can't even afford to buy a judo gi. So it's something I'd want to do. So what was it like reaching out to these clubs? How did you find them? Because there's so many Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu clubs, right? Like, did you just Google Maps search all the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu clubs and looked at their floors maybe to see if they can actually even take the judo? Because some of them have puzzle mats, or some of them are too small. Like, how did you decide which clubs to reach out to? And did you reach out to them through email like you did through me, or did you try and network through your own Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu club, or like what was your approach to that?
So I want to take a step back first. Mm-hmm. So I was a physical education teacher for 8 years. And I went to this physical education conference, which like it literally is as fun as it would sound like, right? Because PE is awesome, So it's a conference of 3 days to where the school pays me to go, and we like play games for 3 days. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I love PE, by the way, which is why I love judo. I went to one of the little breakout sessions, and it was, I don't know, titled something like free stuff or whatever, and these people came and they brought, like all this cool equipment with these carts and everything. And they're like, we start out with a couple games, because the cool thing about stuff like that is you learn all these like neat little games that you could take back to your school. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And after we got done playing the game, we're sweaty and breathing hard and sitting down. They're like, awesome. We had a lot of fun. And they're like, you see all these carts of equipment behind us. And we're like, yep. They're like, everything that you touched today was all donated to us for free. And I'm like, oh, cool, And, they went into all these stories about how they got the different pieces of equipment, like the cart. They had a wood shop in their high school, and they asked the students to do like some kind of project for a grade. And they built these equipment carts and gave it to the PE department for a grade for wood shop, And then they had a whole bunch of bowling pins. And they're like, how do we get these bowling pins? We found a bowling alley that was closing down. And we contacted them and said that we're a school. And what are you doing with these bowling pins? And they're like, you guys can just have a couple hundred of them or whatever, So this sparked something in me, right? And my early days of physical education, I got a whole bunch of stuff donated to the program, right? And I found opportunities to where people would come to the school for free and offer different types of lessons for the kids. So why I'm saying this, right, is I learned back then, however many years ago, this was 15 years ago or whatever, that if you just reach out and you tell people what you're doing and what you're going to and why you're doing it, people are like receptive, and you're going to get a yes at some point. And you're never going to know unless you try. So I used the same approach whenever I decided to do this travel schedule. I did start out pretty local. So the jiu-jitsu gym, which I have a blue belt as well in jiu-jitsu, and people looked at me really funny when I wore a white belt, by the way. So they're like, you're a white belt? And I'm like, oh, yeah, technically. And they're like, you've done something else. I said, yeah, I guess so. I tell people I watched a judo video on YouTube one time. And that's what I did. But anyway, so the gym is associated with Pedro Sauer, if you've heard of Pedro Sauer before. So they're an affiliate of Pedro Sauer. And I was already teaching judo for the gym. I'm not teaching judo as Pedro Sauer per se, but I'm teaching judo at a gym that is associated with Pedro Sauer. So I started out talking to some of the black belts that I met through some of these association days to where they came. And I'm like, I teach judo here. Would you ever want me to come and teach some judo at your place? And they're like, yeah, like 100%. Yeah. And again, if the first couple might've been free, and then people started paying me for it a little bit.
Sounds like a drug dealer.
Right. Well, if I could take a drug that made me feel like judo all the time, I think I'd be good. But yeah, that hasn't been invented yet. Yeah. Then after that, I literally, like you said, I got on Google. I started looking at dojos or gyms or clubs or whatever that was, within about an hour of my house. And I just literally contacted all of them. I created kind of just like a blanket email that talked about, what I did, what I charge, a little flyer that I made, and the price. And then I sent I took that same email and sent it to each individual school. Like most websites will have the name of the instructor. So I would, dear Professor Johnson or whatever, and then I would just copy and paste the email that I sent out. And the first time, I don't know how many schools I contacted. We'll just say maybe 50. 40 of them didn't hear anything back. Literally nothing. A couple were nice enough to message back, not interested, but 5 or 6 of them were. So it started out with, and again, I'm kind of just guessing on what the numbers are.
Are these all jiu-jitsu schools, or there's judo schools too?
So what I'm talking about was just jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
But with the judo is a lot different, because we both know how open and welcoming the judo community is. So in the meantime, not only, because I've lived in the Charlotte area, North Carolina, for 4 years now, and I've visited, the handful of judo clubs that are within a couple hours of here. And some of the places I go, and, I still want to be a student, and I still want to get out there and still learn judo. And I would reach out to judo schools as well. And sometimes I would literally just want to go there to train. Mm-hmm. And I would start out doing that. And, I would come back every couple of months, because it's, a 2-hour drive or whatever. And then I would just throw out the idea, do you care if I show some technique tonight? And they're like, yeah, go ahead. Other times I've reached out to judo schools and literally asked if I can come and show technique, like that's the first time me going there. And again, some are open to that, some aren't. And I get it, and I respect their decision, right? Again, they don't know me, they don't know my accolades, they don't know me as a person. And the fact that they are open and willing enough to trust me to do that is awesome. Other times I've shown up to judo clubs, I've started training, and then, 30 minutes into class, they're like, hey, would you, I noticed, you did a throw or whatever during, the kind of back and forth open warm up. Can you show that technique? And then it's also happened that way too. So it just kind of depends. But, with the judo, I don't ever ask for money, because again, most of them are nonprofit. And judo has done so much for me, and I don't mind, and I enjoy, and I'm thankful, and I'm happy that I can go to judo clubs and do that. But I also do the other side of the coin, or however you want to phrase it. I have black belts from these schools that I've went and taught. I asked them to come to my dojo as well and teach. Yeah. So I do a little bit of a teaching exchange, such as tomorrow I'm going to Columbia, South Carolina, and I'm going to be a guest instructor at Bulldog Judo in Columbia, South Carolina. I was there about a month ago, just as a student, just to learn, and after I was there, I asked if he would do kind of a teacher exchange or, something along those lines. And he's like, oh yeah, absolutely. So his name's Travis Goldie. At least I'm pretty sure that's how you say his last name, Goldie. And I'm going there on Wednesday, and he's coming to my club on Saturday. And then last Friday, I had a black belt named Josh Roach, who trains up at Champions Judo in Cornelius, North Carolina, which I've taught up there, and I've been up there as a student a couple times. And he was at the judo club on Friday teaching my students, all 3 of them.
Yeah. That's amazing that your local judo community is that open. I know you've been saying judo's very open. I don't know if I can say the same thing about the LA area. You know?
Yeah.
I think everyone's very territorial. They're very open. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to cut this out or not, but they're very open when it comes to like appearances. But I can't imagine someone being like, "Hey, you want to come to my dojo and teach next Wednesday?" Like, I can't imagine anyone doing that. I've never been asked that. At least, I've had people because I visit and train other clubs, and I've had people ask me to show techniques, but my usual answer is, I don't think I want to say something that will contradict what your instructor is saying. You know, so that's that's usually what I do to kind of like bypass that. But the only time I've been asked to teach class or show something was when I visited Japan, and I was like,
wow,
okay, I'm gonna show the most all the details I know, like all the most textbook thing I would know. You know how like the Japanese like check their watch and all. So I did all that kind of stuff and was just like, that's Tayatoshi. Like, so I don't think I would be able to do what you're doing because I don't think most people will be happy with what I'm showing. But that's amazing that your community is so welcoming and you guys are doing the whole exchange thing. That's really cool. And I think more people should do that if possible. Yeah.
Yeah. It could be, it could be a regional thing too, because North Carolina is, well, depends on who you ask. Some people say it's the South, and people from South Carolina say, no, it's not the South yet. But anyway, but you get that openness, that Southern hospitality, but also the community here in North Carolina is really small. I mean, there's probably, if you take like LA or something like that, and you take all the people that do judo in LA itself, it's probably more than in the whole state of North Carolina.
Yeah.
It's like there's only, I don't know how many clubs, but somewhere around 20 maybe in the whole state. And there's probably 20 judo clubs in LA alone, I mean, so it's like, it's
there's
different.
4 by my house. So.
Right. And that's the thing too. It's spread out. And another thing too, out of the places that I've been, so I live right outside of Charlotte, but I've had a ton of trouble breaking into the Charlotte market for teaching judo for jiu-jitsu. Now, again, it could be a plethora of reasons, but one thing that could be a factor for some is they think that I'm going to try to steal students away from them, which I would never do in the first place. That's dirty, dude. I would never do that. But that is, some people would view it as that. So I'm getting some no's because of that. So these judo clubs are an hour, there's one that's about 45 minutes from here. And then after that, you're talking an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours is the next closest judo club to me. So I'm obviously not going to steal students, because I doubt that they're going to drive. They're going to stop going to the judo club in their town and drive 3 hours to come to me. I really doubt that. I mean, if they do, cool. But I would never in a million years ever tell anybody to quit their club and come to my club ever.
But I also think of speaking from experience, we have a few people that do that to our dojo, like where they drive really far to come to us.
Oh yeah. I thought you meant stealing students.
Oh no, not stealing students. They just drive really far to come to us, right? And I feel like if people are not going to your dojo, not necessarily your fault, but one, it could be you're not fulfilling the needs that they want, right? That's one thing. Another thing could just be the culture or the environment. If you're a dojo full of kids and there's only 2 other adults, then it's understandable. So people shouldn't see that as oh, you're stealing my students. So let's talk about your podcast. When did you start it? What kind of? I only listened to half of it before I like had to fall asleep to wake up for this interview. So, yeah, how did you start the podcast? What is the goal and philosophy, and what kind of plans do you have in growing it? Is it just going to be like an interview only podcast, or are you going to show more techniques, or doing short form videos?
I didn't really remember when I started. I know a couple of years ago, but I was looking at the analytics on Spotify, and it said I started it in October of 2022, which I'm like, geez, that was 3 years ago. That's nuts. So why did I start it? A couple of reasons. One, I really like listening to interviews of grapplers. It's like, unless they've won a gold medal, or they're in an MMA, or like they've been in a Hollywood movie or something. Most of the time, you're not going to have like a judo black belt on Good Morning America talking about their life or whatever, right? So it's like it's hard to find those sort of interviews. So I like the fact that there's other platforms out there that have interviewed famous freestyle wrestlers, famous judo players, or I mean, not even necessarily famous, just people that have been around for a long time, like, 9th and 10th degree black belts in judo and stuff. And I really like listening to that. And again, it's like, I kind of just thought about it. It's like, I wonder if I reached out to them, would they come on my show? Could I interview them? Probably the first couple episodes I dedicated to my wrestlers. Like I coach high school wrestling. I'm trying to figure out a way to kind of get these kids interested, get them motivated, want them to get better at wrestling, just become students of the game, get inspired, whatever you want to think of. And I did a couple interviews, and like literally none of the wrestlers would listen to them. So it's like, what the heck, dude? So then I'm like, well, I kind of like
they're too busy
this.
wrestling.
Yeah, no, they're too busy doing other stuff. They don't care about that stuff. It's like it's an hour interview. They don't want to listen to it. But anyway, some of them did, but barely. So I started to just like do it because I wanted to do it, and it's like, I have no sponsors. I was contemplating maybe getting sponsors, but like I never have. So there's no sponsors, there's no commercials, and the same approach, just like I did for the traveling judo business or the PE, the teaching PE. I literally just reached out to people, and some of them said yes. So after a while, it turned into, 5 interviews, 10 interviews, 20 interviews, 50 interviews. And it just kept growing, as far as like the number of episodes and stuff. I mean, it's a small podcast, there's not, I think after the last episode, there was a little shy of like 2,000 clicks or whatever, 2,000 views, listens to. I'm saying in total, not for one episode, like in total, so it's small, right? Like I think a couple of the interviews have had, like 100 listens or whatever, but I was doing, for the first 50, I did audio only, it was only on Spotify, and people would, like, the people that did listen to it, mostly like people that I know, or people that that I would go and teach at these schools, they would like, it would get advertised that I have a podcast too or whatever, so they're like, oh, I listened to like your interview with so-and-so. I'm like, oh, that's cool, and
I get embarrassed when people mention that. I get embarrassed when people mention that. I
mean, it's all good. I'm more shocked. I'm like, oh, you listened? Cool. But I would get people that would say, do you have any video? When are you going to do video? Are you going to do any video? And the first 50 episodes I did no video. And now the last couple episodes, I have done video. So I've had 3 episodes that I've done video. And also, what I'm doing is I'm putting it on YouTube now as well, and I'm actually going back and putting all the old interviews on YouTube as well. But it's just audio, so it's just like a picture, and then it's the interview or whatever.
That's our earlier episodes too. Yeah,
just putting it on platforms, just to try to see if people want to listen to it or whatever. And then not only have I gone and done the interview and video, but like when I went up to Durham, North Carolina, and I did a clinic up there, I did an interview with the owner, who's a female, which is awesome. That there's a female gym owners, awesome. Like I want more women to do that. So we did an interview, and then I also took footage of the dojo, and I did some editing and made a video of the tour of the facility or whatever, which the first one was terrible, by the way. It's like I never realized how much the camera shook when you hold it until I watched that video. I'm like, oh my Lord. So, and then when I went up to Colton's, I took some video up there, which that's next on my list to make like a video tour of Colton's facility, which, I'm confident will be better because I used a tripod and I bought like a stabilizer for the camera when I hold it and stuff. But I want to make it like an experience, it's like where I went up in Durham, up at Bull City Jiu-Jitsu. That's just like, just a club, right? Like, I'm not like saying anything bad about it. It's just like, it's just somebody like me. We opened up a gym, right? Like we have some accolades, but not much, it's not like Colton Brown, right? Colton Brown's an Olympian, so that's different, right? But, include both these local dojos, which are the heart of martial arts in the world, and also these famous people, and then while I was up at Colton's, I did an interview with Colton. That was actually the second time I interviewed him. And then I was up in Shitaro's and I did an interview with Shitaro. And again, it's like I feel very lucky and fortunate that people want to do this. But I've also not just had judo people on there, but I've had some Division I wrestlers, some national champions. I'm a big University of Iowa fan. So I've had Brent Metcalf on the podcast. I've had Mark Ironside on the podcast. I've had Paul Bradley on the podcast, all wrestlers, all Americans and national champions on the University of Iowa. And then I've also had some Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champions and things like that. So it's like I sprinkled that in with also like people that were my sensei or some, like a wrestling coach that I know locally that used to coach. I don't know if you know anything about wrestling, but used to coach at Blair Academy, which it's in New Jersey. And it's literally one of the best high schools for wrestling in the United States. And he used to be a coach there kind of in their heyday. But yeah, so again, it's like I keep doing this. I like the interview type thing. Now, as far as, like you said, like introspective or demonstration or whatever, I've been posting stuff like that on YouTube and TikTok. And before my account got banned on Instagram, I had, some videos on Instagram too. I know that I got booted off there. And I don't know why, and I've tried to get back on, but it is what it is. So I've stuck with YouTube and TikTok, and it's been cool, man. I've enjoyed it, and I'm trying to put some technique stuff on there. I put some introspective, some philosophy stuff on there as well, and and then stuff from my interviews, with these people. So I try to put a little bit of everything on there. So
yeah, I noticed you spent a lot of time cutting out shorts too. Like that's like what drives a lot of engagement that I don't have time to do. Like I wish I had time to do that. So because people's attention spans are so bad, and so when you went up to Shintaro's and Colton Brown, did they ask you to show some stuff?
No. No,
Yeah.
definitely not. But that's okay. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah. One of the things that you told me that you want to talk about is how you feel takedowns are the most underdeveloped area in grappling and how to fix that. My first impression when I read that was that I don't know if I totally agree with that. Especially my podcast is more judo focused, right? And takedowns is completely all part of judo. It's just what judo is mostly.
Right.
So I'm coming from a judo's perspective. I don't really know, and I mean, I know for no-gi jiu-jitsu, takedowns is getting a boom, which is why probably Justin Flores is having a great time right now.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So, but I could see like that being underdeveloped, right? Because I see that I watch a bit of wrestling, and I'm like, okay, the takedown game in no-gi jiu-jitsu is just, for lack of a better word, like just bad wrestling.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so, it's going to offend someone, but I don't know how else to describe it. It's not, so there's a lot of room for that to get developed, but then how does the takedowns being underdeveloped apply to the gi, if we stick to that or not? Sambo and judo, those are pretty much dominate the gi side of things.
They do. So like, for the most part, I was referring to jiu-jitsu specifically, but like, again, like, what is the future of grappling in the United States? I'm not sure. One direction that I see it potentially taking is kind of like a hybrid of, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, judo, sambo, kind of all together, right? They might call it one, they might call it jiu-jitsu, but they're doing a lot of judo, or they might call it judo and they focus a lot more on the submission aspect of it, or whatever it might be. But as far as like the number one grappling sport in America right now, martial art, because I think wrestling is still bigger because of the fact that it's offered through the school systems. Yeah. But if you talk about adult grappling specifically, jiu-jitsu has more participants in it, because after high school, what is there to really offer for a wrestler?
Yeah.
There's not a lot of places that are just recreational wrestling clubs where adults can go and just do it. They don't really exist hardly. It's all based back on competing, So
I've actually been to a couple of those jiu-jitsu clubs with a wrestling program, someone that wrestled in college or something. And they usually do a wrestling warm-up, let's call it.
Sure.
and then people don't, and then they're like, why is no one showing up anymore?
Right.
Like you can't have an adult that's probably sedentary or in their 40s do what these teenagers are, what you did as a teenager in school.
Yeah. So as far as like, again, like when I talk about grappling itself, I'm referring more to, jiu-jitsu. And if you look at jiu-jitsu, and again, I practice jiu-jitsu, not as much as judo, but I love jiu-jitsu. I think that there's been a couple aspects of jiu-jitsu that have really opened my eyes and helped my judo game as well. But if you take footage of a jiu-jitsu match from, let's say, like the 1950s or 60s, it looks like judo. It's just, once they hit the ground, they don't make you stand back up. But besides that, it looks like judo, right? And it's really changed over time. And in the last, 15 years, jiu-jitsu has really gotten away from the takedown aspect, and what's the reason? One reason could be because of the competition rules. The competition rules kind of drive how the sport is going to be taught, right? or the art, whatever you want to think of it as. And you get, I think, 2 points for most of the takedowns in jiu-jitsu, if I'm not mistaken, in the various different competitive rule sets. But you get more points for a knee on belly or a mount or something like that, right? So
knee on belly is 2 points too, but you can you can take down someone and then get 2 points, and then knee on belly for another 2 points. So
yeah. So it's not like a big advantage, to take somebody down, like a sport like wrestling, right? Now it's, at the high school level, I don't remember if they have switched to the 3-point takedown yet or not at the high school level, but at the college level specifically, it's 3 points for a takedown. So that's a big point, right? Even before the change, you had a 2-point takedown and then only 1 point to escape. And then you get near fall points and stuff like that. But, you could take somebody down, cut them, take somebody down, cut them, take somebody down, right? So you keep racking up the points, but it's a little bit different in jiu-jitsu. So again, is that one of the reasons why they've gotten away from the takedowns? I'm not sure, but I definitely think it attributes to it a little bit. So people are starting to see, especially at this higher level and especially at the no-gi, that, takedowns are important, and takedowns are, a super important part of the game, and people need to learn them, right? You have to be able to depict where the fight goes, where the match goes. And not only can you take somebody down, but if you start to become skilled at it, you could take somebody down and go to the position that you want as well. So it's not just the takedown, it's the transition as well, which a lot of sports, including judo, doesn't spend a lot of time on the transition aspect, right? We go for the throws, we stop, then we talk about the pin separately a lot of the times.
You miss a step. You stop and you look at the ref. Yeah,
right. Yeah, of course. Yeah, but even in practice though, because we're consistently trying to go for the opponent, so that's the aspect of the feet. But if we throw somebody for a opponent, the match is over. But we don't. A lot of the times, like I said, don't discuss the transition, and that's one of the things that, again, jiu-jitsu kind of opened my eyes a little bit to where I throw this person for Ippon, but then if I just sit there, they start grabbing my legs, they start pulling me into guard, they start doing X guard or Del Hiva or stuff like that. So the match isn't over. So I had to learn to throw and now transition after the throw, so it's it really helped me, but I think, being good on the feet is super, super, super important. And, it really changes aspects of, you could view it as fighting, you could view it as mixed martial arts, you could view it as just whatever you want. Being able to either take somebody down at will or not getting taken down at will is a gigantic advantage, And I tell people this too in jiu-jitsu. It's like I practice jiu-jitsu and I try to do jiu-jitsu. I try to fall into the rule set. I try to, play guard. I try to pass guard. But in reality, most of the time, I could just get up, I could just get up and get away. But I don't, because I want to get better at jiu-jitsu. But if we were in some sort of competitive realm to where I could get a takedown and the match not be over and I could just get up, that's what I would do, because again, I'm going into this tangent, but each martial art, including wrestling, helps people out with different aspects of grappling. Now, one thing that wrestling, especially folk style wrestling, does that judo and jiu-jitsu really, really, really lack is being able to hold somebody down that wants to try to stand up and get away. Because again, it's part of the rule set. You get points in wrestling for getting up and getting away. You don't get any points in judo, and I'm almost positive you don't get any points in jiu-jitsu for getting up and getting away, getting an escape point.
Yeah.
So, but the other aspect of that is not only can you hold somebody down, but what wrestling teaches you is get off of the ground if somebody's trying to keep you there. So again, it's a whole nother level of, a whole aspect of grappling that judo and jiu-jitsu don't teach. So again, like I take somebody down, like I can just get up, but I try not to because I want to, delve into the sport no matter what it is.
Judo, the guard, passing the guard and retaining the guard. Yeah.
Yeah. But like if this was some kind of like, I don't know, like again, like either a competition or a street fight or whatever, like just whatever. Or if I just felt like it, I would take somebody down and then I just get up, and it's just like, the wrestling taught me how to get up when somebody's trying to hold me down. Okay. Like it's an awesome thing to learn. And again, it's kind of like it's neglected and overlooked in judo, jiu-jitsu, sambo as well, which we haven't mentioned a lot. I don't think there's an escape point in sambo either. So it's like, it's not taught very often.
Yeah.
Cause like I see these videos sometimes of, we'll say like maybe a police officer. Okay. And they know some jiu-jitsu and they're doing, like they can control somebody on the ground and stuff, but like these big burly guys that just want to get up to their feet, a lot of the cops can't keep them down. But you see the cops that have wrestling and they're able to take somebody down and keep them down if they're trying to get up, so it's like there's all these, it's like I'm all about being well-rounded, and like my game is different because I've had wrestling and jiu-jitsu and a tiny bit of sambo, but mostly judo. But, like I show things and my stance is different and my techniques are a little bit different because I've been influenced by these other arts, and I just think it's important to be well-rounded. And I think that jiu-jitsu schools should teach more takedowns. I think that judo should teach how to hold people down better as far as somebody trying to get up from their feet, and the transition aspect. I think wrestling should include more upper body throws. I mean, and again, it's just an opinion, but I think that like each martial art separate has its own positives and negatives, but like they need to overlap a little bit more. And I really think that being well-rounded is the answer, Yeah,
I agree with what you said. We also see it in specifically what you said about keeping someone down or just getting up. We see that in MMA. Like a lot of wrestlers are just able to just get in turtle and just get up. Right.
Yeah. Right.
And when you look at how someone turtles or bellies down in MMA, you can tell who the jiu-jitsu guys are and who the wrestlers are, because the jiu-jitsu guys will immediately get their hooks and take the back and or try to, and the wrestlers would start applying pressure and then start breaking down the frames to crush the guy and keep them down.
Sure. Right.
And wrestle fuck them basically. Right.
Yeah. So, right. You're right.
And you can take the back, but they're gonna get up. So sometimes you get a submission, but
sure.
From what I see, many times they don't. So
sure.
But I don't watch that much MMA anymore, so
I don't either. I've gotten away from
anecdotal. It. Yeah.
Although I am a big Kayla Harrison fan, obviously.
Yes.
The best judo player, the best American judo player by a long shot. Not only is she the only American to ever win an Olympic gold medal, but she has two. So I'm a big fan.
talk about that since you're talking about combining the three. So in
Sure.
your club, I'm assuming you already teach this way in the current program you're teaching at the Jiu-Jitsu club?
For the most part, I would say that it's, this is just a guess at the percentage, but I would say 75% like judo, like actual judo philosophy, judo movements, judo grips, judo throws, judo takedowns, judo stance, et cetera, et cetera. But what I do is I talk about ways to transition. So we do a throw, and for the most part, I talk about, just throwing, just taking them down for whatever. But then I talk about having options, which I mentioned earlier. Okay. Like I throw somebody, and whether it's a pwn or not, I don't really care. I want to be able to control that arm, and I want to be able to transition into something of my choice, whatever is available there. Knee on belly, mount, north, south, arm bar, whatever it might be. They turn over to turtle, go to a choke, go to a breakdown, whatever it might be. But then I also talk about sometimes when we do a throw, like I'll say, this is more judo centric. So we're going to throw, we're going to roll through, we're going to try to get the opponent, and it doesn't really matter what happens after the opponent. Okay. But I don't really do that a lot. I kind of talk about, this is how you throw somebody. After you throw them, this is how you transition to something else. But I incorporate some leg attacks. Absolutely. I don't show very many.
You're talking about leg grabs, not leg locks, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Single legs, double legs, ankle picks, knee pulls, stuff like that. Wrestling centric. But again, like it really is judo, because up until 15 years ago or however long ago it was, leg attacks were allowed, so you got kataguruma, I believe, is it Morote Gari, I believe is a double leg. Me as a second degree black belt, I should know that, right? Sorry. I'm bad with the terms sometimes, man. But anyway, but really it circles back to judo. So again, like, what am I really doing? Am I teaching old school judo, or am I teaching a hybrid? I don't know. You could call it either one. But I have a green belt that does compete in judo, and I have some other people that come to judo that do some jiu-jitsu competition. Not much. I don't really have any of the big competitors, which is a big shock to me, and I could go off into a gigantic tangent about that, about why are the jiu-jitsu competitors at my gym not coming to judo. Like, it's mind-boggling to me, but it is what it is.
I get a lot of those people coming by, and I can tell you afterwards. I don't want to piss off people. I have a hunch why, and
yeah. But again, you could think of it as old school judo, or you could think of it as a hybrid that includes judo with jiu-jitsu and wrestling. Now, as far as, so right now I'm talking about where I teach, the jiu-jitsu club that I teach for right now. My dojo, when I open it, I am going to start teaching a little bit more of the submissions, because I think I may have started it, but I didn't finish my thought. I don't teach a lot of submissions at the jiu-jitsu club, because almost all of my students all do jiu-jitsu. So the jiu-jitsu black belt is way better at submissions than I am, like right, wrong, or indifferent. Most of the judo clubs that I came through barely focused on groundwork. Barely ever, all of them. It was just all throws, it's like, and again, like, that's also something I think that judo needs to change, right? I think that there needs to be a little bit more emphasis on newaza as well, right? Like, we would go over like a submission, like once a month or something, and basically they just said, okay, grab the arm here, jump into it. There's your submission. Okay, now let's get back on our feet. It wasn't taking the time. Like when I started doing jiu-jitsu, I was already a brown belt in judo, but I really didn't understand the fundamental structure of what an armbar actually was, as far as pinching my knees, as far as getting my hips under the shoulder joints, as far as getting the elbow joint inside of my knees, right? Like, raising my hips, where to squeeze, how to turn. That was really never taught to me in judo. So again, like when I open my own place, I am going to show some submissions. I would think that I would be teaching them more the way that I've learned them in jiu-jitsu. Even though those are the ways that are done in judo, it's just, again, I was not part of any club that really focused on newaza. So my submission, my submission game is still terrible. Yeah. But, like when I first started jiu-jitsu, I was getting tapped all the frickin' time by white belts because I literally barely practiced submissions, right? And I also never liked them because I wasn't any good at them. So I shied away from them for forever. So that's why as a black belt in judo, I was getting submitted by white belts in jiu-jitsu all the time because like I really shied away from them. But now, I understand them better. I understand the positioning better. I understand how to see openings, how to shut those openings off. And, became a little bit more well-rounded. And I definitely have to thank jiu-jitsu for showing me that aspect of the game.
So my personal experience with that, we did a newaza discussion episode and I mentioned it, but so I won't go too much into detail because some people got offended by what I said when
how dare you?
No, basically the first year that I started teaching the beginners program in my dojo, I did exactly what you said, and I emphasized a lot more on newaza. One, because it's safer, and two, we did a statistics episode with Dr. Sayanage, and the number one way of winning in the circuit is Yokoshi Ogatame, like a pin, right? So I use that statistics to drive my class, and my few novice competitors actually beat jiu-jitsu black belts in the judo tournament on the ground multiple times.
Sure.
So it's clearly that, and we talked about the summary is if they have a bottom specific guard kind of or no-gi kind of a jiu-jitsu game, then it doesn't really transfer that well to judo, I think. Go back and listen to that episode if you want to know the details. But the main thing I want to bring up is the feedback I got from the students was that we do too much newaza. We don't do enough stand up, especially since we have a lot of jiu-jitsu guys like white belts. They come by and they're like, I'm here for throws, not for pins. And
sure.
They don't see that how it's like a different game that I'm having them do. Like I focus a lot on the transitions, like you said. And the pins, I think most jiu-jitsu guys are really good at transitions, but not so much keeping someone on their back under a judo rule set to maintain the pin. So I don't know how that would go for you. That is, if you were to introduce more newaza, especially since, like you said, you're teaching out of a jiu-jitsu club right now. So how do you think people would not be like, if I wanted to do groundwork, I'll just go to BJJ?
I want to go back to being, well-rounded. I would be the first to say that, when I demonstrate an armbar, I still feel like there's so much I have to learn about it. I don't feel that I am a professional when it comes to the submission aspect. I also don't feel like that about, I don't feel like I'm a professional as far as like, know everything about a throw either. But, I can break down a throw in much more detail and be able to hit it in different ways. And I could talk about each aspect about it and how I can change it, what my hands do, and what my feet do, and what, I can break it down in farther detail than I could something like an arm bar. I'd be the first to admit that, it's like it, and it's the truth, but I feel like fundamentally I have a grasp on a lot of the submissions, right? And I could teach them step by step. Am I going to not hit a detail that a black belt would hit? Absolutely. But, I think that I have a grasp on it. But the club will be, mostly takedowns and throws. I mean, absolutely. But, what the plan is for probably 45 minutes, I'm going to work on stuff from the feet. And then the last 15 minutes is when I'm going to transition to talking about both transitioning from the feet to the ground and then groundwork. So, it'll be probably 75% on the feet and only a small percentage on the ground. But again, it's also going to be kind of depictive and run kind of by the clientele that I have, as far as what I kind of see that the group might need as a whole, and kind of just go from there. Because like when I coach wrestling, like I was a big takedown guy. I mean, obviously, because I do judo, right? But my guys were just starting to get absolutely pummeled on the bottom, So I'm like, okay, so obviously we're getting okay on our feet, but on the bottom position, I mean, we got to get better, dude, like way better. So then I would shift and I would teach a lot more top and bottom stuff. And even sometimes the whole practice would be top and bottom, and we wouldn't even do any takedowns because like we'd be up on the scoreboard and then we would just get turned over and pinned. Like we never wrestled before in our life. And it's just like, geez, dude, like, come on, man. So, but we didn't practice it enough. So like I started focusing on top and bottom more. And then we started to get a little bit better. And then we weren't getting turned over so easily. So some of them still did, but how it goes. But no, but I want to, it'll be a judo club, and it's, like I'll promote through judo and it'll be judo belts. But again, like you could think of it as old school judo, or you could think of it as a hybrid of, judo, wrestling, and jujitsu, but that's the goal. But, it's like, you do have to appeal to the audience and your customers to an extent. But, like I'm opening the club and I'm teaching what I think is important, and I'm going to be demonstrating the philosophy that I think is important. And I'm going to, like it's going to be me, like this is what I do. And you're always going to have people that are not going to be on board, like I learned that as a teacher, like we'd be playing a game in PE, and there's a couple kids that like didn't like either that particular game or didn't like any of the stuff that I did, but it's like the majority of the kids did. Now, if you get into the realm to where the majority of the class is not enjoying it, that means you need to change something, right? Like it could be as simple as the approach. It might not even be what the subject matter is. It could be the way that you approach the kids, right? The way that we talk, or, offering incentives, or, finding things that, whatever, like videos or something like that, to where it would get the kids a little bit more engaged. So, I have an idea of what I'm going to teach, but I learned as being an educator for 16 years is you could have everything planned out to the T, And the day of, you might completely change everything that you wanted to do. Like sometimes, like I'll have something planned for judo, and it'll be a night to where I have like 2 or 3 brand new people, or people that have only been there once or twice. And then I have like 1 yellow belt, So it's like, okay, I'm not going to show this follow through Goshi like I was going to. We're going to change it up.
Yeah.
We're going to talk a little bit more about groundwork. We're going to spend more time on break falls, things like that. Because it wouldn't have been the right time to teach that to this group. So, that's kind of the approach. It's like have a curriculum and a goal in mind, but like I said, like anybody listening that's either an educator or wanting to teach judo or whatever, it's like always realize that you're going to have to make changes split second. So it's like you always got to have something in your back pocket, and you always have to be willing to change to an extent. Now you cannot let and again, yes, you have to appease to the customers to an extent, but you can't always change something because one person doesn't agree with it, or one person's like, all I want to do is throws. Well, I'm sorry, but it's not just about you, it's about the group as a whole, and if you allow yourself to always change because people are griping or somebody doesn't like what you're doing, you're going to drive yourself mad, and then you're going to end up losing people. Honestly, if it's like, I just changed what I'm doing because Johnny says, I don't like this pin. Let's do takedowns. So it's like, you're going to lose people. So, but if you stick with your guns, I mean, sometimes you lose people as well. Like some people are going to come to the club and, it's not going to be what they expected, or they're not going to like what we do. And that's just part of the game, and it's like, I get that. And I'm not going to be for everybody. I'm going to try to appease to as many people as I can. But I learned, again, back to education, that I spent so many years, man, of trying to save every kid, trying to get every kid engaged 100%. And I could have a classroom. And again, this is my own fault too. I could have a classroom of 100 kids and 99 of them love it. But there's this one kid and he just hates it and he doesn't want to do it. So I focus all my time and energy on trying to get this kid on board, when in reality, I should have been spending more time on people that like being there, and that, again, that's a fault of my own. I mean, I'm not saying completely let them go, or, I mean, if they're doing something crazy, obviously try to help everybody. But there's some kids and some adults that are not going to want to, are not going to want to cooperate, or not going to want to do what you envision them to do, or not going to follow the curriculum, whatever, no matter what you do. You could talk to them till you're blue in the face. Yeah. And again, there's a small percentage that will absolutely not get on board no matter what you do. And if I could go back and take what I know about education now and go back to my first year, I would spend a lot more time on the people that like being there and not focus so much on the people that don't.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, especially about the kids part. I think if in an ideal world, if judo was as popular as BJJ in America, then you would just go somewhere else where the coach teaches the way that you would like to. So you have options. But here, it's like, okay, I get to pick from 2 people at maybe, if you're lucky, and they just might not be teaching the way that you want to. And the good thing about adults is that if they don't like that the way you're teaching, they're going to leave. But with kids, the parent might like the way you teach, but the kid doesn't, and they're being forced to show up. So you don't have a choice. You're just stuck with that kid. But I also feel like it's personally, because I said I would say it after class, but I do see jiu-jitsu people come in and they want to like they're clearly not there to learn judo. They're there to pick up stuff for their competitive jiu-jitsu aspirations.
Right.
And when I'm having them do like jiu-jitsu specific, judo specific pins, or I'm teaching them like how not to break your partner's knee, then they're like, I'm not here for this. I'm here to collect techniques. So I think it kind of might turn them off, but it's also like you're not wasting each other's time. It's kind of like a filter.
Sure.
So I definitely see that. You mentioned something specifically about catering to everyone being hard. And you being an educator, have you heard of the reverse classroom model? We did an episode on that, and I think that solves a lot of the problems that we were talking about. How it's like, oh, you have a white belt and then now you have a brown belt. How do you cater to those two groups? Like, that's something I've talked about implementing, but I just don't have the time to record the material necessary to implement it. But I think that solves a huge gap in those clubs where you have like you don't have a beginners, intermediate, advanced class, but you have like a blob of people at different levels and age groups. Like, what have you heard about that? Like, and what is your thought of it as an educator?
Not by that name, no. Are you talking like the ecological stuff?
No. This is reverse classroom model. No.
Okay. So I haven't heard of that specifically, but here's the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like no matter what class you have, whether it's martial arts or it's classroom or whatever, you're always going to have mixed levels, always. So the whole goal, and I use this in the classroom and on the mat as well, is I try to explain in a way to where everybody can understand. And I encourage people to not only ask questions, but to add a little bit of flair to whatever they're doing. Okay. Because the way that a white belt is going to do the Seiyu Inagi or the Tayatoshi or whatever is going to be different than that brown belt. Now, again, depending on the day and instruction, I might show just the very beginning of the technique. And then at the very end, I might say, okay, now the upper belts, I want you to add this twist at the end, right? Like I want you to turn your hips or to, snap your hands a little bit more or transition to whatever. But like the whole thing about teaching in general that I've learned is you have to always teach to those people in the middle, okay? Because the majority of the classroom or the student base, or the team or whatever you want to think of it, or even, if I'm doing a corporate training with a group of adults, the majority of people are going to fall kind of in that middle group to where they understand to an extent, they can do it to an extent, they're going to be agreeable to an extent, and you're always going to have outliers. One, maybe somebody with a learning disability, or maybe somebody that literally does not freaking care what you're talking about, or they might have their mind on other stuff. And you're going to have the other extreme, the overachievers, the high-ranking members, the ones that are deep into the knowledge, whatever it might be, and anxious to learn and are more advanced than everybody else. So you always try to teach to that middle group. And then when it's time to do these breakout sessions, if it's judo specifically where we're going over technique, that's when you go around to, there's two approaches here. So one could be you as the instructor go around to each of these groups as they're doing it and point out certain things, or if you see somebody struggling, go over and try a different approach to explain it individually or in their small group of two. Or you take the other way of taking the higher ranking people and putting them with lower ranking people on purpose so they can learn how to teach. Then especially if these high ranking judoka or sometimes like the A students in your class, whatever it might be, you have them help these people that are struggling. Because also it could just be that somebody else might explain it in a way that's different than you, that somebody's going to understand. It's the same material, but it's explained a little bit differently, and they understand it from that other person's thoughts, right? The way that they teach it to them. So, that's kind of what I do. I think that's kind of the basis to education in general, whether, no matter what it is, martial arts, teaching at a corporate meeting, teaching somebody how, if I'm a carpenter and I have a group of new people, new employees, and, I need to show them how to, measure the boards correctly. I mean, so it don't really matter. Just taking what or taking your ideas of your experiences and trying to teach somebody is kind of, the basis of all education, man. You have to try to focus on the majority and then individually reach out to these other people, right? Because again, like, you can't spend, especially with kids too, you open it up to questions. Sometimes it's like you could be there for an hour of like, what's your question? What's your question?
Yeah.
So you also got to kind of cut them off, right?
Yeah.
And if somebody asks and you think that it's better to explain to them individually, after we break out for these individual sessions, maybe you might say, well, hold off on that question. I'll work with you.
Yeah.
Or after we start, call me over and I'll help you with the technique. But, you can't spend all the time on questions as well. But I don't know. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind of what I think. Like, you could think of all kinds of models of teaching. And I've seen a lot, as being an educator, as a profession for a long time. That is like all, out of every method that I've seen, going back to what I said earlier about teaching to, basically like the 80% that's in the middle is going to be the most successful way that I've seen. You can't cling on to the people that are not interested, don't understand, but then you can't also make it super, 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 super advanced either, because these overachievers, these people that are A students, these black belts, whatever it might be, if you try to only appeal to them, you're going to lose everybody. They're not going to understand, so it's like you have to teach to the middle and then individualize things, once it's time to, do the assignment or do the exercise or do the technique, whatever it might be.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
It didn't fully answer my question, but it's all right. Like that's
I'm sorry, man.
It's okay.
I tried.
The method is called the reverse classroom model. I actually forgot which episode I talked about it on, but it's kind of interesting. So there's a lot of studies backing it, but I don't think it will pick up steam in judo because of the amount of work it goes into it, and also it kind of relinquishes control from the instructor to the individuals, allow them to self-organize, which a lot of instructors don't like that. So, we can do that. So, but since you mentioned the ecological approach, like, just real quick without going into a tangent on that, what do you think about it? Like, are you for it? Are you against it? Like, what do you think of the discourse that's happening right now?
Well, and again, I can relate this back to education. So if you talk about education theory, there are two like complete polar opposites of education. Okay. One is if I remember back, it's the Skinner method. So the person that created it was Skinner. If I'm not mistaken, if I'm wrong, I apologize. But that one is almost like a dictatorship in a way. It's 100% run by the teacher. So the teacher makes 100% of the decisions. He runs the class 100% his or her way. It's his way or the highway kind of thing, and not necessarily in a negative way, but just the fact that the teacher controls 100% of what's going on all the time and does not change because of feedback from the students. And then the other way is almost like, you could call it maybe like a democratic model, to where the students are in 100% control of what's going on in the education, right? They vote and make a consensus on what is learned, how it's taught, how the classroom is run, etc. And then you have everything in between, okay? So there are issues with both extremes, the Skinner method or the dictatorship method does not allow for change. It doesn't allow for feedback. It doesn't allow for things to be changed because the consensus wants it to be changed. So that's an issue. The democratic model is an issue because now you have the students, people that are learning the subject matter, are in control of what's going on. So not to say that in the democratic model, the people are like dumb or uneducated or something, but you have, in the majority of times, the teacher is decently knowledgeable about the subject matter, right? And their understanding and knowledge of the subject matter most of the time is going to be higher than each individual in the classroom. So you have to be able to introduce new things to students, and you have to be able to show them details that they would not be able to figure out on their own, or maybe not at first anyway. Mm-hmm. So as far as like the ecological approach, if it's full ecological and it's to where it's that full extreme, the democratic sort of ideology, it's not effective. And again, it's the same for the 100% strict dictatorship type of method. That's not effective. You have to find something that's in the middle. Now, there's plenty of times to where when I've taught judo or I've taught in the classroom, to where I purposely give only enough information for the students to think about, but then they have to figure out what to do after that. So I give them a little bit of a guide, and then they figure it out on their own. Okay. Do I always do that? No. But there are times to where I absolutely do, and I do it on purpose. And I do think it's important for students to think critically, whether it's for judo or education or martial arts or whatever it might be. But there has to be somebody that is more knowledgeable, that is giving little tidbits. Okay. Like if you have a group of 20 people that are brand new and you say, okay, go ahead and practice arm bars, and no one has done it, people are going to end up getting broken bones. And nobody is going to do the technique correctly. It's like you might get somewhat close, but now you're going into the realm of being unsafe, right? Mm-hmm. Being unsafe. So no, I don't believe that either one of those methods are effective. I do think that it has to be somewhere in the middle.
Because I use the ecological approach to teaching judo, and I'm actually last night I actually finished writing a post about the misconceptions a lot of people are having. But Greg Souders, right? He has a class uploaded demonstrating how he would approach teaching arm bars, and I think it can be safely trained in a way with the constraint just so you don't extend the arm like that. Mm-hmm. You don't. When I teach arm bars to white belts day one, that's the same thing. I basically do the same thing that Greg does, which is don't extend the arm. Your job is to get into this position to finish the arm bar, but you just need to keep it there as long as possible. Because the hard part is not extending the arm, assuming the grip's broken already. The hard part is getting there and retaining control so you don't lose it when you do extend the arm. So I don't want to make it an ecological approach episode, but I think I agree with most of what you said there, specifically about not giving away the answers, and a lot of that kind of overlaps with what Eco kind of says, basically.
Yeah, sure.
But I think it's not that Eco is saying just let them figure it out. It's kind of like telling you what you say actually affects the students' intentions and attentions like very differently than most traditional coaches think, which is like you're feeding them, giving them the solutions, right? So which isn't what you're saying. You're saying you need them to discover the solutions, but you need to like kind of push them in a way.
Everybody's teaching model in any capacity is always going to fall between these two extremes, like I said, and the ecological approach would fall closer to the democratic approach, but it's not fully democratic because, again, like the democratic approach is almost no instruction. It's literally letting the students run the class, right? But like you said, so you're giving them a couple options, right? We don't want to overextend the arm. We want to make sure, we do this for safety. You want to, so you're giving them a basic set of guidelines, right? So it's closer to the democratic, but not fully. So again, it falls within the spectrum. Even though it's closer, it's not fully democratic.
Yeah, I forgot what the other. I haven't taken psychology in a while. I think it was Skinner was one, and classical method was the other one, I believe.
Okay.
I might be wrong, but those who know, leave a comment. Okay, so it's 2 hours now. So, is there anything else you want to discuss or plug or anything?
Oh man, like I said, I feel very, very honored and privileged to be involved in the martial arts and education community in general. Back to what I said earlier, I'm not someone with, an Olympic gold medal or, a PhD from Harvard or, not that these obviously make somebody an expert in the field, because I've been to lectures of people with PhDs that are unbelievably boring. And I've been to seminars with world champions that I didn't learn anything because the approach was just like, it didn't make any sense. But I feel very lucky and fortunate to be able to come on things like this, such as this podcast, or go around and teach, or to have my own school, or to, be a coach previously to where kids would come and wrestle. I feel very lucky and fortunate to be able to do this. And I'm very thankful that I was able to come on today. And, I just believe so passionately in, spreading the word of judo, spreading the word of grappling, but also promoting that deep philosophy that judo has to offer that is not talked about as much as it probably should be.
So your podcast is called Well-Rounded Grappler. I'll put it in the description. What is the jiu-jitsu? Do you want to repeat the jiu-jitsu club name that you teach out of, and what your new dojo will be called, and where they can find you?
So I teach judo at 4M, so the number 4M, fitness and MMA in Indian Trail, North Carolina. I teach on Fridays and Saturdays. The name of my club that I'm opening is Student First Martial Arts and Fitness. First, kind of like first place, so number one ST, Student First Martial Arts and Fitness. I'm hoping to be open before the end of the year. We're getting close. Electricity just passed inspection, so just the wiring, so it's not live yet. I'm just slowly working on stuff. I have the mats. Currently insulating the dojo. My YouTube channel is Student First. Again, Student 1ST. Well-rounded grappler on Spotify. But I mean, it's like, what's the whole point of this? And it's like, I've gone through different thought processes. I've, thought about what I want to do. What's the whole reasoning behind it? So, I mean, I don't even think it's possible for me to, get, millions of subscribers or something like that. And that's really not the goal, obviously. I want to spread the idea of judo and grappling mixed in with some, wrestling and jiu-jitsu as well. And just get people to understand it. If I can provide a video and it helps people with their technique, or it helps somebody get motivated, or somebody that is thinking about trying judo or trying martial arts or trying wrestling, and I influence them to at least try it, then I really think that I've done my job. Because again, I spent so long as an educator focusing on all these kids that they just didn't get, I could have been somebody explained it to me like this once, because I wanted to get the wrestling team going and I wanted to get 50 wrestlers out. Somebody's like, you could be Dan Gable and try to convince some of these kids about wrestling, and they're just not going to do it. So it's like, you can't focus all your time on these people that don't want to do it and don't want to be there and are not interested, and focus your time on the people that are enjoying being there. And I've really felt that I've changed my approach, and I'm trying to focus more on people that want to be there. And it's led for me to be less stressed, to enjoy what I do a lot more, and to see these people that are making progress, or to receive a message from people that say that, I help them to some extent. That's kind of why I do this. And, if I can help one person, then I've obviously feel like I've done what I'm supposed to do.
All right. Thank you so much again, Cole. It's great having you on. Thanks for reaching out to the podcast.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. That was a long interview. What a great interview that was. Man.
You didn't even listen to it.
That was, I'm going to tell you, man, I was moved. I was brought to tears. I rethought my whole grappling life after that. I'm sorry. So now after interview, Anthony, what were your takes from it? Your thoughts on the talk?
Yeah. So I spent a lot of time, having the back and forth with Cole before we decided to actually do an interview, because we get a lot of requests. Well, let's not say a lot, but more often than I expected. And many times it's just people trying to push their brand. They're trying to sell something, right? Yeah. And I'm like, okay, I'm totally fine with that, but it has to be a mutual benefit kind of thing. You have to just be show me something interesting that you're doing, or why you're doing it, or something. So I feel like Cole kind of passes that bar. So that's why we agreed to have him come on. Because other times people would just be buy my instructional, buy my instructional, buy this, buy that. But
we literally had some people try to sell their books on our site, and not on our sites, but on our web, use this as an advertisement, then ghosted us.
Yeah, I mean, the moment I'm just the smallest thing that I asked was, I'm like, oh yeah, can you tell me more about your book, or can you tell me this or that? They just ghost you, because it's I don't want to. I just wanted free publicity kind of thing, So it's not like our podcast is huge anyway, but probably it got turned down by the other podcasts. But
for the last on the list.
Yeah, definitely interesting. And because of my time constraint, I only got to listen to a bit of Cole's podcast before the recording. But since the recording, I've listened to the interview he had with Shintaro and Colton Brown, and I actually was genuinely surprised how good it was. I don't know. I don't want to say like other ones are bad, but he asked some questions in a way that lets me know a lot more about Shintaro and Colton Brown that the other interviewers don't ask. Because there's always like, oh, tell me about your wrestling career. Tell me about your judo career. What was the best match you had? Or crap like that, right? Mm-hmm. But Cole genuinely drawn out these questions that were really interesting for me to listen to. So check out his podcast. And if you're in the area, visit his gym. Link in the description. I think he's still going to teach at the Forum Fitness. Towards the end, we were like short on time, so I cut it short. But I think the part about eco and stuff we kind of disagreed on, but we'll just leave it at that. So,
all right. Yeah. Well, thank you for doing the interview, Anthony. I'm sorry I couldn't be there for you, but duty calls. You know, I got to put the uniform on and fake arrest people and fake put people in jail. You know how it is. All right. So, as some of you guys may or may not know, we moved everything from the Substack to the Beehive now. Anthony's now in the King Bee over there.
Just call it the Tatami Talk newsletter. I just call it the newsletter now. So
it is a newsletter. Go subscribe to that. It's still out there. We're still going to post stuff on there. We have the website now. I don't know what else we're going to do with the website besides just put the. I keep on calling it Substack.
If you want to offer privates or seminars, I can put your information up on there. So I was talking to Cole about that. I was like, oh, maybe I should offer that. So
yeah. So that's all up there. So like always, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. You can follow me at _1. You can follow Anthony through. You can follow Tatami Talk himself on Instagram at Tatami Talk. You also follow us on YouTube at Tatami Talk. We're also available on all major podcast sites. It's funny. I had to tell this to somebody. They're like, "Do you guys just do video podcasts? Like, what if I just want to just listen to you guys?" Like, well, we're on all the sites, brah. We're everywhere. Okay, all the major ones. Okay. If things you want us to talk about, things you want to get on the show, things you want us to look at, we're always open to that. You can hit us up at tatamitalk@gmail.com. All right. Is there anything else I'm forgetting? Oh, yeah, the threads too, and no one goes there. All right. So with that, please remember, don't forget to
have a safe and happy Thanksgiving. I think this is going to come out around that same time. And
after Thanksgiving,
slap the mat. Yeah.